The use of a controller is highly suggested.
Suggested, huh? So what, like, Blake Rule 34? Wait, no, cut the camera! Cut the camera! Don Nakamura, my name is Sage Blake. I'm a wanderer, storyteller, artist and mature, and you have no idea how much pain in the butt this has been to record. For record, this is maybe the 4th attempt of recording that I've done for this game, because first few times, I ended up with a blank static screen, and the first time, excellent audio and recording. Every other time, it's just been an absolute glitch fest. But hey, what can you do? Sometimes Unity is just very picky about what can record its games and whatnot. But regardless, this week we've got Fech the Ferret. The best way to describe this game is it's a 3D parkour sandboxy type affair, starring an adorable little ferret. In terms of controls, it's very simple. You can throw around the camera with a stick, left trigger, right trigger. Well, I'm using a controller. You can play this game with a keyboard. And there have been a whole bunch of balance changes during the time of the pre-alpha of this game that were specifically dedicated to making sure that keyboard was a viable option. But other than that, you pretty much have 2 main buttons to worry about. Jump and run. Hold down the run button and you advance forward. Sometimes automatically, like this glitch here, which, I don't know what's causing that. Maybe it's some type of vector is being registered when it shouldn't be. But regardless, that's a glitch that happens. I wish it showed up on recording, but I also had a moment where I was running with Fech's head repeatedly skidding into the ground. Hilarious to look at, but unfortunately, I don't think I can salvage that footage at all because it didn't record. RIP. But other than that, the other big things about this game that need to be mentioned. 1, the soundtrack is amazing. I did a bit of extra research during the failed recordings, and found out that William here, the developer, his specialty, or her specialty, their specialty, is in music. They've done a whole bunch of remixes for not just Sonic tracks, but also other video game tracks as well, and composed the music for this game. I don't know what they're using to make the music, to be honest, and when we get to the forest, it sounds I hate to say it sounds distinctly like rhythmic, but it could just be me. Well, it also doesn't help that I'm pretty much a jack-of-all-trades hobbyist, so I have tampered with rhythmic in the past, and present even. Future too, because, well, channel theme that I'm still working on. It's a slow effort, mostly because I'm kind of bad. But regardless, the music is really nice, and it gets even better while you're actually running. Specifically, it's been hard-coded so that a certain rhythm line plays when you reach a certain amount of speed. Otherwise, you get a nice mellow track like so. It's a really nice detail and really incentivizes you actually keeping your momentum for as long as possible, just so you can hear the killer music. And don't worry, that's meant to happen, because that little bit right there is a dream sequence. Now we're in the actual part of this game, the giant forest mushroom sandbox. There is not a lot to explore here, honestly. Like, there are a whole bunch of wide open areas, and in many ways you can consider this a engine test. There's a reason for that, and the developer has gone into detail stating that the Sage 2020 demo is the way it is, specifically to avoid story spoilers. That's perfectly fine. Provided we get a legitimate reason that isn't, hey, this isn't yet another engine test, I'm perfectly fine with that. Because, I don't know about you, but while I do understand that Sonic and Amateur Games Expo needs to have a whole bunch of Sonic games in order to consider itself a Sonic-themed expo, engine demos don't cut it for me. It's nice to play around in a little sandbox to experience the quirks and nuances of an engine, but without anything to do within that sandbox, I lose patience, I lose interest. And if anything, I actually try to avoid the project because I feel like I've experienced all that I need to experience. With a game like this, and having at least a little bit to do that isn't just run around, maybe squash an enemy or here or there, it's nice. And again, part of the issue is, in fact, with music. More often than not, the engine demos have like some remixed track of Sonic, and that's cool, but I don't know, there's just something about how the atmosphere gels with the music that just sells the scene. It really does feel like you're meant to be lost in this wide open forest full of pollen and trees. If anything, there's almost like a sort of desolate feeling to the soundtrack. Well, here at least. Other tracks that are in the game, not so much. They are more heroic and upbeat. Maybe it's just my fetish with music being forest-themed. Like, I really like any type of music that seems to be forest-themed. I don't know why, or nature-themed at least. It tends to just be relaxing, nice to listen to, especially when riding. But that aside, there is something that we can do in this other than just wander around and enjoy the scenery. And this is where I'm going to be getting a hell of a lost, because there's a challenge door in here somewhere. I don't fully remember where that challenge door is. And that says a lot about just how big the world is. That I've completely lost track of a singular door. It doesn't exactly help that it's off of like an offshoot path in a weird direction. So it's a matter of trying to figure out where that direction was and trying to get back to it. But while we're wandering around, I would like to mention a couple nitpicks I do have with how the engine works. The first of which being the jump. This is me rapidly tapping the button right here. You'll notice I'm just popping up and down like this, almost like the jump has no weight behind it. Instead, it's just like this stiff action that occurs. I've always found it awkward when games do this. I get it, especially since this is a parkour-based game, that being able to just immediately snap back to the ground is very useful. Helps you time your jumps more easily, it helps you parkour. It feels awkward for me, at least. But again, a good chunk of the 3D games that I end up playing are RPGs that actually take into account real-world-esque gravity. Ish. Regardless of my own nitpicks, it works marvelously for this game and makes it a whole lot easier to do all the tricky platforming that you're going to be doing. Fech has two different toggleable modes, so to speak. While crawling like this, on all fours, he can move a hell of a lot faster, and especially so if you hold down the dash button. He can also jump farther too, but your stamina is somewhat limited. Eventually, you're going to run out, and when that happens, you're going to have to stop dashing a little bit. Or at least I think that's how it's going to be implemented come the appropriate game when it's released. Otherwise, you can tap a button to go back to standing. While standing, you don't really have too many options in terms of traversal. And if anything, the jump here especially feels a little jankier. I can assume that when the full game is ready, or when a better demo is ready, rather, that you're going to be switching between these two modes to do a variety of different platforming actions. Maybe. And no, I think I'm going the wrong way. Yeah, I think it was this way? Yeah, it was this way. Because I distinctly remember all these jumpy shrubs. Seemingly embedded into the wall over here is a doorway. We could take this doorway to an extra little challenge. A rhythm game, so to speak. There's one other aspect to the controls that I haven't mentioned, and it's more used for this rhythm game than in the actual overworld, especially since it only selectively works within the overworld. But there is a drift option. By holding down the left trigger or right trigger while you're running like this, you'll be able to drift and sharply turn in a direction. You're going to need to take advantage of this during the rhythm game. 2, 1. Because if you make a single mistake among these platforming challenges, you fail and will go all the way back to the beginning. I didn't notice this before, but you can also see your progress on the appropriate track up in the top of the screen here. That little white bar. It's a little tricky to execute the drift properly. Specifically because it's hard to time when you need to use it during this rhythm challenge. I can, however, see a whole bunch of these rhythm challenges being made in the future of the game. They look like the perfect type of challenge for this type of fast-paced parkour. And if anything, this section kind of this entire bit of the game kind of reminds me of Beat Saber in a way. Maybe that's just me. And clear. Essentially, that little challenge is score attack. You don't really get anything for winning it, you don't really get anything for losing it. But even then, it's nice to have little things in the world that you could just go out and do once you explore and find them. I kind of have this issue with open world games. It's a common issue, honestly, that sometimes the world is too open. And, this is a bit of a glitch. Like, after you've finished with the rhythm game and leave it, the music of the world just refuses to load. We can fix that, fortunately, because there's a restart option within the menu here. Oh, and don't worry if you restart this game and don't want to go through the forced tutorial at the beginning. It's not forced at all. Once we get into the tutorial itself, open up the pause menu, and you could choose to skip right to the forest.
Oh, and don't worry if you restart this game and don't want to go through the forced tutorial at the beginning.
But you should
It's
be
not
able
forced
to.
at all.
Why is this not working? I'm pausing. Game? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Well then, there goes my end tutorial button. It does exist though, trust me. Just since I restarted, unfortunately, I have to go through this tutorial. Oh well. Tapping left trigger and right trigger to move the camera will move it, I want to say, 45 degrees in a direction. This might have gotten changed so it's 60, I'm not sure. But regardless, it's a really nice feature to have, just to help you make slightly snappier decisions. Oh! I didn't realize there was a button for a quick pan like that. Cool. Good option for a 3D game. What just happened there? I guess it kind of combined forward with the wall run. Actually, that's something else I need to mention. The wall run can only be used in specific scenarios. A wall needs to have a flat texture to it, like this one here. And the wall's end, you can only ascend so high on the wall too. Otherwise, if it has like a beveled texture like the ones before, then you can't scale it, period. These walls here especially can notify the edges of the world, which actually, one of them isn't too far from here. And can be accessed through this tower, if I remember correctly. No, never mind. There's no way in heck you can get to the edge like that. You'd need some other means. But yeah, other than that one music challenge, that's about it. It's pretty much just a giant world for you to explore and get lost in. And for me at least, that has both its pros and cons. Because, again, for every Breath of the Wild, there is, unfortunately, several versions of... But yeah, other than that, that one musical challenge, there's not much else to do. Sure, you can go around collecting all these mushrooms, but one, why would you? And two, you wouldn't really get a reward for it anyway. The only things in this game, well, in this specific Sage demo, rather, are this forest area and music challenge. However, there is a lot more in this game's future, specifically because about 16 days ago, 16 gays ago? 16 gays ago. Excuse me? 16 days ago, this game finally released from pre-alpha into a proper alpha. So that means, potentially, within Sage of 2021, we might be revisiting this game. But who knows? For now, at least, I'm gonna get lost in this forest, because the music is hella nice. Talagang, talagang,